everybody, Yankee here. Today we'll take a little time to talk about how Governor Newsom and the other anti-gun elitists in California are continuing their war on poor people. Now, I know a lot of people will say, oh, you mean their war on gun violence? They're trying to stop gun violence. No, that's pretty clear that that's not what it is. It's really a war on poor people or non-wealthy people. They don't want poor people owning guns. And that's pretty much the case across the country. If you look at a lot of these gun laws that get passed, these blatantly unconstitutional gun laws, they do two things. They either limit where people can get guns by targeting retailers and trying to run them out of business so that only the wealthy will have the resources to actually obtain firearms, or they just add extra cost and extra time requirements on the people that are actually buying the guns. And in California right now, they're wanting to add 11% tax on firearms. And they justify it by saying, oh, well, we tax cigarettes and alcohol, and those are all lumped together with firearms. They're all the same, right? Well, no, alcohol and cigarettes are not a constitutional right. Firearms are. So when you're putting a tax on them, that's like taxing, the right to vote, and that's called a poll tax. And what has history said about that? So this is actually a poll tax just on another constitutional right, gun rights. And it's not about stopping crime. It won't stop crime at all. Making guns more expensive or making requirements more hefty to get a gun, like paying fees for carry permits or having to pay for training or go through time to train. Even if it's free training, it's still a burden on people who have to work every day. This is clearly a war on keeping poor people from owning guns. And they think, that will lower violence. That'll stop crime. Well, it won't. Now, I will say that, yes, more people commit crimes that are poor. More poor people are the ones committing the crimes. But just because you're poor doesn't mean you're a criminal. And preventing poor people from getting firearms is just more likely making them prey for the other poor people that will commit crimes. The small percentage of people that don't have, an upstanding character. That's all it's going to do is it's going to create more victims. And they know that. Their goal is not to really reduce crime. It's to prevent people that they consider below them on the socio-economic scale, political scale, everything else, from being armed. They don't want the people whose necks they've been standing on for years with this rigged economy that favors the elites and the already wealthy. They don't want those people to ever have the means to say, I've had enough of this. It's kind of like how the old coal mine companies didn't allow the coal miners any freedom at all, because they knew if they had freedom, they would start getting together and deciding they weren't going to take it anymore. And it's the same thing nowadays, except that they got to keep the lower classes, meaning anyone that's not in their elite circles, from being armed. Because firearms are the great equalizer. They do make it a lot harder for people to be victimized. And they want poor people to be victimized because they want you to live in constant fear. Because if you live in constant fear, you'll look to them for protection. And they can exploit you in the guise of protecting you. So that's what the main goal of these laws across the country are. They're to prevent lower income people from owning guns. It's blatant. And if you think it'll actually stop crime, you're crazy. Because most criminals get their guns by stealing them or buying them on the black market, which most of those guns were stolen or obtained by illegal means. So they're not going to be subject to these taxes. And it will drive the price of them up somewhat if they buy them on the street, if they don't steal them themselves. But that just means the hardened criminal that's buying guns on the streets will just have to commit a little bit more crime to get that gun. So you're not stopping crime at all. In fact, if anything, you're creating more victims. There will probably be more crimes. They're not doing anything to stop the reasons or to change the reasons why people commit crimes. They're not trying to create a more equal field of opportunity for people to where they can succeed and make enough money to survive and not have to struggle every day. They're not doing anything about that. If they took care of that, that would be one of the major reasons right there. Most crimes aren't crimes of just, I'm a bad guy and I'm going to do a bad thing. Most crimes are, I have nothing and I'm willing to risk everything to have something, or at least have more. So what they're doing doesn't make any sense. It won't stop crime, won't even slow it down. They're not doing anything to deal with domestic issues. A lot of gun violence, you see, is domestic issues. People who don't know how to be adults, people who got married too young and have a lot of pressures put on them by society, have no mental health care resources available to them. They're not doing anything about that to reduce crime or violence. No, what they're doing is making it to where people who don't have financial resources cannot obtain firearms. That's their goal. It's always been their goal. When there's only one gun shop in town, if they can whittle down all the gun shops in the state to where there's only one, and they can cater to just the elite because, hey, that's a good paying market. I can get markups on every gun just selling it to the elite guys. I don't got to deal with the populace. Hell, I could probably even close my doors and just do a by appointment business because I'm the only gun shop in the state. That's one of the things they want. When they run all these other places out of business with these ridiculous requirements like videoing and all this other stuff. And when they try to hurt sales, like with these sales taxes, they're trying to consolidate the resources for obtaining a firearm, and they're trying to make it to where only the people that they consider worthy, meaning people who have a certain level of income and money at their disposal, when they make it to where just they can afford the guns, then they will feel safe in their position. You know, they'll feel like, hey, we can't be challenged by the 95% or the 99%. We're safe here at the top because we've disarmed them, and now they live in fear of each other, and the only way that they can feel safe is if we promise to protect them. That's their whole goal. And like I said, this is clearly a poll tax. Alcohol, not a right. Not specifically in the Constitution. I do believe it is your right to consume alcohol if you want to, but it's not something you're guaranteed. No one needs to make it and give it to you. Same thing with tobacco. But firearms, the right to be armed and defend yourself and defend your freedom, is a guaranteed constitutional right. And they want to put an additional tax on it. That is taxing your constitutional rights. That's like charging you to vote. How many of these Democrats that want to tax guns would be okay with saying, okay, everybody can vote, but it's $50, or it's $25 even, $10 even? How many of them would say that? They wouldn't. Believe me, they wouldn't. Because they know probably half the people that vote for them, if they said, I got to pay $20 to vote, well, screw it. I don't like any of them that much. They've never done anything for me. When it's free, I'll go vote for them just for the principle. But when I got to pay for it, I'm going to be like, they never done anything for me or my community. So why would I vote for them? So they would never support that. But they do support taxing guns because, like I said, it's all about preventing the wrong people from owning guns. And when I say wrong people, I mean poor people, and I also mean black people, Hispanic people. Because those people tend to be in lower income classes and they can't afford all these extra increases in fees and requirements. So that's all it's about. It's classism and it's racism. And it's a desire for the elites to stay in power, and this is the way that they see that they can stay in power, to make us helpless and dependent on them. Now, I'm someone, I can actually afford a 10% tax on a gun. Luckily, I got a lot of guns. And if I go buy a $1,200 gun or a $500 gun, and that $500 gun is now $555, $560, I could still get it. If that $1,200 gun is now $1,310, I can still get it. I won't be happy about it, and it would affect my life, but I'd still do it. Some people can't. Some people just can't do that. Some people can't take 2 days off to go to a training course. They just can't do it. They'll lose their job. And those are the people in the lower economic classes. So I'm not bitching as much for me here. I'm bitching because the principle is wrong. It's anti-American. It's unconstitutional. It is criminal, in my opinion, the way these people on the left are treating people of lower income and people of the wrong skin color. They're the biggest racists I've ever met in my entire life. They're racist and they're classist. And then they want to call everybody else racist because they don't think, reparations are a good thing. That they never hurt anyone. And they definitely never hurt the people that are around today. My grandfather might have hurt your great-grandfather, or my great-grandfather might have hurt your grandfather. But I never did anything to you, and no one else ever did anything to you. So they'll yell racist on that when that actually has a viable argument behind it, while they're, like I said, out there trying to disarm poor people and minorities. So who's really the racist? Is it everybody who just has a slightly differing opinion from the left? Or is it the people that are out there actively trying to make it to where lower income people and minorities can't afford the right to defend themselves because they want to continue exploiting them?